What's good, family? It's Vinny C here in the Jets Lounge. It's been a while since my last checked in. I failed to cover the Cowboys game. Still shell shocked over what happened on our first game when Aaron Rodgers went down, when all of our fears became a reality with him tearing his ACL 4 plays into the season. So we're going to take a deep dive in the current state of the franchise with the New York Jets. We will cover a little bit of what happened in the Patriots game yesterday. We're going to cover a lot of things going on with this team, and I'm going to say certain things here that some people might not like, but I'm not going to pull any punches with how I feel with what's going on with this franchise, because the amount of issues that are going on with this team, and it's not just the locker room, it's the staff, it's the front office, it's ownership. Lot of malpractice here, and it just, where do we begin? Where do we begin? So I think the obvious thing to start with that everyone in the media has been talking about is the state of the quarterback room. Aaron Rodgers tore his ACL. His season is over. I don't give a shit what he said on McAfee. This team is not going to the playoffs. There is no miracle Disney story where he's going to trot out onto the field in January for a wild card game. It is not going to happen. So you could throw that dream out the window. Enter our reality. Zach Wilson, the former number 2 overall pick, is now your starting quarterback. Now, why is this an issue? Well, Woody Johnson, the genius owner that he is, he went out and showed his card in the offseason, and he said, well, the weak position of this team was the quarterback. So we admit that we whiffed on the second overall pick. Fly out to Malibu, you meet with Aaron Rodgers, you give him your pitch. You could be a superstar here in New York City. Come play for the Jets, win your second Super Bowl, and one of the worst Super Bowl droughts in American sports in the National Football League with the Jets. And yeah, we are in the same exact position as we were a year ago today. I can't believe we're even talking about this. And then furthermore, the amount that they've invested to tailor make this offense to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Zach has to be a deer in the headlights right now. You brought in his buddies in Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard. You brought in his best friend in Nate Hackett. Hell, they even brought in Billy Turner as a depth piece on the offensive line, who's a piece of garbage in himself. And now the leader is not there who knows how to work with these guys. And you got to insert Zach, who he's been with this crew now for the last few months and like trying to pick up the new offense and unlearn all the garbage that he took in from Mike LaFleur. That's another story. But again, just the eye test shows this kid is not capable of playing professional football. He's just not. He's not just a bad starting quarterback. I would argue he is the worst backup quarterback in the National Football League. Never mind being 1 through 32. He's literally number 64 out of 64. Maybe it's lower than that. Maybe it's even XFL or USFL. I don't know. I do know this. He should not be on this roster next year. It's so evident. His numbers are putrid. We're 3 weeks into the season. He is ranked dead last in every statistical category for a quarterback. Passing, yardage. He leads the league in interceptions already. And I don't want to hear any bullshit from the coach. And we'll get to the coach momentarily about how he played a clean game yesterday. Are you kidding me? When you don't throw a touchdown pass, when your offense is totally inept. I mean, he was playing dink and dunk the entire game. They didn't trust him to throw one pass longer than 20 yards. They played completely afraid the entire game. The entire game. And when you look at the sideline and you see the frustration out of guys like Michael Carter and Garrett Wilson, it's justified. It's totally justified. And they can spit any bullshit that they want in the presser and say, well, he's the one that we believe in. He's the one that gives us our best chance to win. Newsflash. If they wanted to address the backup quarterback position or the quarterback room in general, then you knew you had a problem on your hands. It should have been done on September 12th. Instead, the genius front office doubled down on the second overall pick and said, we're not doing that. We're going to put all of our eggs into the Zach Wilson basket, and we're going to put behind him a person who's never started a professional football game in the National Football League in Tim Boyle. Genius. That is a recipe for disaster for any team in the National Football League. If Robert Saleh had any balls whatsoever, and I have to say it like that, if he had any balls whatsoever after the debacle we saw yesterday in the Patriots game, I would have cut him today. Today! And I know what you're going to say. Well, Vin, then who are you going to have to play quarterback? Boyle? Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. Because the point is, he's not going to be on this team next year. You could bring in a Carson Wentz. You could bring in a Matt Ryan. You can try to trade at the deadline. There's a lot of rumors circulating that if the Vikings season starts to flare out, you make a play for Kirk Cousins. But is it worth it to lose another draft pick of next year's class for a guy you're going to get a one-year rental? Is it worth it? We've already traded away our second-round pick next year, Aaron Rodgers. He's not playing this year. Our seventh-round pick in Chuck Clark. He's not playing this year. So now we also have to lose a third-round pick on a guy that we're just going to use for 15, 14 games, and then say ta-ta. And I know you can't throw the season away, but at some point you got to realize your draft is the lifeline of your team. You just have to. And with this kid, he's pissed off everybody from the players in the locker room to the staff to the fan base to the point where Hall of Famer Joe Namath is on Michael Kay today. And even he is calling his performance, quote, disgusting. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. So, again, I don't know what to say. He is quite arguably the worst quarterback I have ever seen. And we've seen plenty of football here. Plenty of bad football, I should say, with this franchise. It's mind-boggling. And the fact that they didn't address the quarterback at the backup level, at the start of the season, it's mind-numbing. It's just, we could go on and on and on. But again, if it was me, and you know that you have no faith in this guy, you have no faith, the team has no faith, the fans have no faith, just cut him today. You got to go on national television next week against the defending Super Bowl champions in your stadium, and you know for a fact that the whole stadium is going to be a sea of red with Taylor Swift in the press box jumping up and down every time Kelsey scores a touchdown on your defense. The sorry defense, mind you, we're going to get into that momentarily. The defense that DJ Reed compared to the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens. This defense, this great defense, that's supposed to be the strong point of this team, right, Coach Saleh? But here's the thing, though. You played a bad Patriots team that's owned you now for 15 straight games. They didn't force a turnover. They didn't get a sack. My God, but they're this great defense. They were terrible. Terrible. How else do you want me to say it nicely? You got Quinnen Williams, who's getting paid nearly $30 million. He doesn't generate a sack. You got Sauce Gardner, the defending defensive rookie of the year. He doesn't get any picks. And when the ball gets thrown his way, he doesn't come down with it. DJ Reed, who I better not hear another goddamn word out of his mouth ever again. And CJ Mosley, who he's a hell of a leader, don't get me wrong, but it's getting to the point with this guy. He's slow. He's tired. I'm just tired of it. And he's one of the last, things left from the stench of Mike Maccagnan. He's another one that we need to draft his heir soon. If not next year, address him in free agency. I don't know. The defense sucked yesterday. I'm sorry. They held them to 15 points, but at some point in time, you can't go into every game relying on your defense to win the game. You can't. And furthermore, they rarely get off the field. It's just this team yesterday had not one, not two. They had 3 opportunities to win the game late in the fourth quarter, and they can't finish. And then you got and going back to Zach, to take that mind-numbing safety and then give them the ball back. And then you get the ball back, and you can't convert a first down. Incompletion, a necessary sack, throwing the ball away into the stands. Then you got 4th and long. And then he throws to Conklin at the sticks, where you're not even plus 1 yard or plus 2 yards. Throw it deep. Try to draw a pass interference call. Something. And just that Nate Hackett, man, he is a garbage offensive coordinator. He made his bones because of the fact that he became best friends with Aaron Rodgers. Who does that remind you of? Oh, another Jets legend. How about Adam Gase, who got his reputation? How? He became best friends with Peyton Manning. Isn't that the story? It's the same story all over again. It's like we get on this hamster wheel and it turns and turns and turns and nothing ever changes. It just doesn't. So let's fast forward to the press conference today. What does Saleh do? Without hesitating, he reminds us that, I think it's a credit that Zach played a nice clean game. He didn't turn the ball over. Well, he also didn't throw one pass longer than 20 yards. What does that mean? Has the bar been lowered so low that now we're just hoping for mistake-free football? This kid holds on to the ball like no other, and he doesn't see the whole field. His vision sucks. He locks on one receiver, and if he doesn't get that receiver, he either takes the sack unnecessarily or he throws the ball into the stands. And it's just, the coach doesn't make any adjustments whatsoever. I mean, for Christ's sake, last week in Dallas, my man Dwayne Brown has Micah Parsons lined up over him, and he was getting blasted over and over and over again. How about an adjustment? How about put an extra tight end on that side? Maybe drop a running back into the backfield as extra protection for your quarterback? Come out in the third quarter? Nope. Not one adjustment, and we see Parsons in the backfield again and again and again, while your offensive line and your quarterback are getting beaten up and mauled and spat on. Embarrassing. And for this offensive line that you relied on a 38-year-old in Dwayne Brown, who wasn't there in training camp, didn't participate in one preseason game, let's see. This offensive line, as a unit, didn't play one snap the entire preseason. 4 preseason games, one of 2 teams with them and the Browns that got to play an extra preseason game. They didn't take one snap together as a unit. Not one. So, you have a 38-year-old left tackle coming off major shoulder surgery to protect your 40-year-old quarterback, who they were chasing in February. You had from February on to get max protection for your 40-year-old quarterback that you wanted more than anything. And how about that other piece of garbage that lines up next to him in Laken Tomlinson? Another absolutely gross, disgusting contract that man has. He is awful. The entire left side of the line is awful. It's such a liability. And the thing that's funny is Rodgers lasted 4 plays into the season, but this kid, he doesn't get one boo-boo. Like, they can come through that line like Swiss cheese every single play, but by some miracle, he doesn't get hurt. Now, I'm not wishing injury on him, but if he does get hurt, I couldn't care any less. That's how badly I want him gone. Like, he doesn't make any roster in the National Football League, except this one. So, as far as the front office goes, now we have to talk about Joe Douglas, which the guy took this job, indicating that his bread and butter was the offensive line. He's a former offensive lineman himself. Well, let's look at this. Mekhi Becton is a total bust, his first pick. You can call it wherever you want it. He's a total bust. Best case scenario, if he finishes the season without injury, they're probably going to slap the franchise tag on him because we're already hit at depth at the tackle position. Laken Tomlinson sucks, and they're going to have to eat the contract if they end up getting rid of him. So you probably have to deal with him for another year. Connor McGovern's best days are behind them. The fact that Tippmann wasn't active for the first game or so, why they weren't giving him any run, is total bullshit. Total bullshit. AVT I always liked. You can't say enough good things about the kid. But again, he's coming off injury. And then right side in Mekhi, well, I already addressed Mekhi Becton, but, Brown was the left tackle. Mekhi was playing the right side, a position he had never played. So, I know they tried to get Orlando Brown. He wanted no part of this disaster. You blame the guy? You blame him? They offered more money than where he ended up going. He did the right thing. So you don't address, you can't fix the offensive between last year coming into this year. What they did was they pretty much they drafted Carter Warren in the 4th round, of project tackle, who, if his career is successful in this league, he's probably at best a swing tackle. He's never going to be a starting caliber left or right side tackle. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So, I mean, again, your next 3 games, the defending world champions, that's a loss. You're going to Denver, who just got 70 hung on them from the Dolphins, who you got to play twice. That's a must-win game. Absolute must-win. Because if they can't beat Denver, I don't think they win another game this season. Because then you have to go play Philly, who in the history of the franchise, we still have never beaten. I'm already calling that a loss. And then you hit your bye. So at this point, this is one of... I cannot believe we're here right now. This monumental disaster. Nobody saw this coming. But even if Rodgers never got hurt, the offensive line here is terrible, especially the left side. It's terrible. And Zach Wilson, I'm telling you now, and maybe too late to sign a veteran, to salvage the season. Again, it should have been addressed on September 12th, and it wasn't. I don't know how I would feel about bringing in a Kirk Cousins and sacrificing another premier draft pick, for a 1-year rental. But it's not fair to those guys in the locker room that busted their ass all offseason and to be put through this again. We dealt with this last. It's not fair to the Sauces, the Garrett Wilsons, the JJs of the world. It's not. Not after all the hard work. To double down on this kid who is not an NFL quarterback. He's just not. Again, cut him today. Cut him today, and I guarantee you nobody picks him up. Unless it's stash him on a practice squad. Once he's done here, he will be competing for a 3rd-string job elsewhere. And that's if they decide to keep him. He'll probably, get picked up on a practice team somewhere. He is not... Listen, it was mentioned in the movie, Rudy. God made certain people to be professional football players, and Zach Wilson isn't. So, again, I wish I had something better to say. I can't believe we're here right now. I cannot believe that we're here right now discussing this again. It's not fair to the fans. I feel terrible for a lot of you guys that spend thousands of dollars, out-of-state fans. I know a ton of fans that are coming from out of state going to the Kansas City game on Sunday night. And then they know what they're going into. It's going to be a bloodbath. The spread on the game is 9. I'm surprised that's not 13.5. And it probably is going to go higher between now and Sunday. And you're going to notice pretty soon a lot of guys are going to start mailing it in. Somebody rolls an ankle and it hurts a little bit. And I'm just going to say they don't feel like playing. It hurts. And when you have nothing to play for, why risk your body especially if you're going to be hitting free agency and you're looking for your next contract? I don't blame these guys. I don't. Not when your football playing career is your livelihood. It's not like in college that they're going to play no matter what because they want to get drafted. It's a totally different ball game. So, I mean, this sucks. Wish I had something better to talk about, but it is what it is. So, me, personally, I'm over this coach. I'm over this general manager. I don't know how you could justify bringing them back if the two of them as a unit put together another 4th place finish in the AFC East. I don't want to hear the excuses. I don't. We've been through this so many times. If you're going to do it, though, correctly, Woody, you got to clean the whole house out top to bottom. I know he's going to want to bring back Rodgers, especially with the money they owe him with the dead cap hits in both 24 and 25. The only coach I can think of that would make sense to align with Rodgers is, I can't even pronounce his name, that Rich Biagio. He was the interim coach for Vegas right after Gruden got canned with the Raiders. He's got a connection to him. He was the special teams coach with the Green Bay Packers. So he would just be a guy, a placeholder, kind of like, Kubiak was in Denver when Peyton was there. Kubiak really didn't have much to do with that championship. He was just the guy. He was a placeholder. Same thing with Bruce Arians. He didn't really have much to do with that championship. That was the Tom Brady show, and everybody knows it. So, I mean, he would just be a guy that, is familiar with Hackett, familiar with Rodgers. Woody's not going to get rid of Rodgers. That's what's going to sell him tickets next year. So, it is what it is. So, and I feel like I'm getting repetitive here. If you guys agree, disagree, let me know in the comments below. I respond to everybody. Thanks again for tuning into the lounge, the Jets Lounge. We'll see you all next time.